Hello, everyone. So, I claim to be a democratic capitalist, which is essentially a social democrat. But I think that branding, at least in the United States, is just not very productive, especially when it comes when you consider the propaganda of the establishment media and the crazy outlets like OAN and Newsmax. You can't put social in anything really, and or they will just spew their propaganda about socialism. Oh, Joe Biden's a socialist. No, he's not. Joe Biden's a neoliberal corporatist. He's very, very much a capitalist. Um, he's not even for a fucking living wage. Anyway, he claims to be, but he's not, and it's very clear. Anyway, just want to talk a little bit about the definitions of all these different political and economic systems. So with more and more mentioning of the word socialism in politics and media, it's really important that we actually get a good understanding of what that is and a good distinction between capitalism, social democracy, democratic socialism, and socialism and all of that. So first off, I'm going to define capitalism in just a few sentences. So capitalism is the existence of a free market economy in which there are many firms theoretically and few barriers to entry in markets, and the concept of survival is strong, a firm survival. And so the United States often comes to mind when you think of a country with a capitalist economy. And it supposedly works to innovate and advance the lives and prosperity for all. Because as Adam Smith once said, with every individual working to their own good, it's going to make everyone else's lives good too. So if everyone works to increase their private personal benefit, then overall welfare will be increased. So I will get to how this is actually a farce in a second, at least late stage and without regulation, but I digress. So now socialism is the economic system in which profits are essentially canceled out, because any profit that a business makes will be distributed, regulated directly to the workers. So really there wouldn't be much room for innovation, because all of the profits will not be invested into new technologies or new research, or research and development. Instead, it'll just go to the workers. And again, I digress. But this is a common reference of, or a common example of this, of socialism, made in the United States at least, is that of the Venezuelan government under Hugo Chavez. So let me just get one thing clear. No one in the United States politics and government is advocating for socialism. Not one. Like, I would love to hear a absolute socialist policy that that anyone in government holds. Even Bernie Sanders, not really a socialist. He mischaracterizes himself, but I'll get to that in a second as well. So now we want to get to social democracy, or democratic capitalism, as I like to call it. It's the system. It's basically a mixed economy. So there is a strong free market, but it is regulated by democracy. So what's democracy? Well, majority rule, power to the people, right? And so what in an economy that's capitalist, what is the majority of people? Well, it's going to be the working class. So in democratic capitalism, it's going to be capitalism regulated by democracy. So really, it's a free market enterprise economy that is taken or puts the interests of the working class first. That's really what it is. So in this system, whatever the working class, whatever the majority of people wants, goes. So really, what does this all mean in regard to politics? Well, many on the right would argue for capitalism that is unregulated because, you know, taking back from their ancient philosophy that has been disproven is that if you just let it all work out, profits will go up and all this crap. But really, these are the same people who believe that if we cut taxes to the rich and let the free market work on its own, money will trickle down through investment and will create jobs and everyone will be prosperous. We know that this is not true based on 40 plus years of evidence. That is not the case. Trickle-down economics is a farce. The wealthy who get their taxes cut do not end up investing it into research and development or building companies, startups, and creating jobs. No, they save it or they spend it on themselves. So it doesn't grow the economy. And by spending it on themselves, I mean buying stocks, stock buybacks. These are so common. And so this is all the while that the right-wing party, the Republicans, actually do a whole lot of government stimulus to the people at the top through tax cuts, government subsidies, corporate tax cuts, and of course corporate subsidies. And then those corporations and wealthy people just turn around and screw over the average person. So you keep getting this income and wealth inequality that's keeps growing and growing and growing. And so right now we're in this very late stage capitalism where we have very few firms, few people owning trillions of dollars. You know, Bezos and Musk combined own 3% of the entire economy. The entire economy of 300 some million people, 2 people own 3% of the entire thing. That's absolutely immoral and unjust, and it's not how you grow an economy. So this is not how you maximize economic growth. It's simply not. So I'm an economics major. I'm about to get my degree, and so I know a little bit about this stuff. So this has easily been proven to be an old, failed economic theory by the merit of unsustainability and a growing bubble that is bound to pop in the long run. And we saw this with Reagan when he took over in 1981. He did major tax cuts, but he kept spending up. He increased a whole lot of defense spending. And so we just had this growing deficit, and it was great for about 10 years-ish. I shouldn't say great, but there was a lot of economic optimism going on from a whole lot of people at that time, because it was a new idea that hadn't really been implemented before. And Reagan, of course, was this new guy, anti-establishment. He was an actor, governor of California, and so he was very popular because he was an outsider. And so, but we saw the failure of his economic policies fairly quickly. So after his vice president won the election in 1988, in 1990, there was a huge recession because, again, this policy is not sustainable. You're always going to have short-run gain, long-run loss. Short-run gain, long-run loss. We've seen this time and time again. Saw it with Reagan, we saw it with Bush, and we saw it with Trump. Before COVID, we were on our way to a recession, and then COVID just sped that process up. And so, the system fails. The system fails in the long run, and we've seen this. But we just have these propaganda outlets who keep trying to sell this idea, even though it's a failed idea and it's outdated. So now it's time to look at the newer ideas of social democracy or democratic capitalism. So the best known examples of this are like in the Scandinavian countries. So like Sweden, Norway, Denmark. This is a system, remember, that has an existence of a free market, but it's regulated by workers and consumers because those people need to be protected first and foremost. And that's what democracy calls on. The median voter theorem says that whatever 50% or more of the people want will go. And so that's what they have. They have actual democracy in which workers and consumers, the majority of people, are protected. So this prevents the formation of monopolies or oligopolies and labor exploitation and consumer exploitation. So as the empirical evidence reflects, of course, these countries have a very high standard of living. Their citizens are incredibly happy. Um, and there is very strong economic growth. So some key recognizable policies in these countries, of course, are universal health care, green industries. Norway produces a shit ton of oil, but they export 100% of it. All of their energy comes from green energies, like wind turbines and solar energy, for example. So then there's also, a living minimum wage, something that the United States absolutely does not have at $7.25 an hour. If you're working, 40 hours a week, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks in a year, it's the only break you ever get is the 2-day weekends. You're making just over $15,000 a year. And then with their tax rate, it's going to be less than 15. It's, I don't know, 13, 14, something like that. So it's just absolutely terrible the way we have it here. But then they also have, again, aggressive antitrust laws and a very strong welfare state through, funding public education, equalizing opportunity. So everyone can actually have an equal chance. We always hear this argument from the right wing, and just like, and this is the libertarian point of view, is just like, well, pick yourself up by your bootstraps. In late stage capitalism, we have millions and millions of people here in the United States who ain't got boots, ain't got no straps. All right, they got nothing. They can't pick themselves up because the system has already made them so poor that they just can't get it done. And so basically, I just wanted to lay out these different systems and how social democracy, democratic capitalism, whatever you want to call it, is the best way to actually promote economic growth, happiness, standard of living, and everything. You just look at the empirical evidence. That's all you got to do. And we really just need to end this absolute farce that is the complete free market.